It's finally paint day for the Volkswagen camper van build. In the last video, you'll have seen me prep and sand and just get annoyed at my boyfriend and get really overwhelmed and strip out the camper, ready for this week's episode, which is gonna be paint day. Yes! This is the moment where like you do a coat and it all looks shiny and fancy and it's just going to be amazing. So I started off with a little bit more prep. So what I did was I used a Hammerite crust converter, which on their website says transforms rust to a sound surface. Sound, mate. So rust converters are a great way to quickly stop oxidization before the problem gets worse. With them, you can restore metal and even paint over it once the solution is dried. It oxidizes the rust to perform that chemical barrier. So typically the rust converter has two primary ingredients. The first is transacid. This chemical converts the reddish iron oxides to a sort of blue-black terephthalate, which is a more stable material. The second ingredient is a organic solvent, 2-Blyoth. There will be words, I can't say them. Which acts as a wetting agent and a protective primary layer. Depending on what chemicals you get, there may be other acids added to increase the reaction time by lowering the pH of the solution. Once I'd let that rust converter do its thing, I then went in, the first thing I did was I painted the wood in a wood primer. So I got told, my friend works a lot with wood and he said a wood primer would be better. So that's just what I did. So I got a little tin of wood primer and gave it a couple of coats. So that was the undercoat. Second undercoat, the wood primer was white, so that was good. Then I did a couple of coats of a bathroom paint. So I just happened to have some like bathroom paint that was left over that was white. So I thought that that would be the best because the camper would be a little bit damp or something inside, and therefore bathroom sort of kitchen paint would be possibly slightly better than ordinary wall paint is what I was going for. Again, don't really know if it worked, but it was fun to do. So then it was time to paint. There's metal parts on the side, white metal parts on the side and white along the top that I did. I got these little tins of Hammerite paint. I like quite a matte finish and I accidentally got warm glossy white, so I put that on the stuff that you can't really see and I hope to cover up one day. Use the matte everywhere else. Just sort of brushed it on thinking that I would cover it up at some other point. Got a little bit of black for the floor. Quickly realised that wasn't going to work. My boyfriend's mum had just got a big tin of black metal paint, so I managed to borrow that off her so that I could finish all the floor off. It looked pretty damn good, if I do say so myself. I was going a bit back and forward whether to paint the back of the engine part black or not. I was going over the back of the seat black or white. I decided on black because I did, and I'm quite glad I decided on black actually. It looked pretty good. Pretty good. One of the mistakes I did make was that when I had painted with the things, because I'm used to working with like wall paint, which you can sort of quickly rinse under the tap and it gets the paint out, etc. However, working with the metal paints and the primer paint, it was a very sticky, thick paint. This was the time when I was living back with my mum and I did go into her kitchen sink and try and clean them in the kitchen sink using the kitchen sink as a sort of bottom scrubber, and promptly, because it was a metal wooden sink, left some of the metal paint on the metal sink. So word to the warning, if you're going to use these metal paints, read the instructions and follow the cleaning instructions carefully and get the white spirits and the other stuff that it suggests. I did have to get her the Hammerite cleaner, they do a little bottle of cleaner. I did get her that. She did have to scrub it for a long time to get that out. You know, you be careful about washing stuff in the sink. Since I now own my own sink, I have got better at being careful and reading the instructions in order not to ruin my sink. So, sorry, Mom. So yeah, that's it. That was essentially 2 weeks of painting and just listening to podcasts and audiobooks and just painting away. I think that this is the most transformative stage that I have done today. It looks really good, it looks really clean, it looks like it's starting to get going, it looks like it's starting to be able to be used, which is massive, because there was a moment in the prep where I just wanted to cry and close the door and never touch it again. So yeah, this is a good stage. Check back in next week for whatever stage that is. Think about subscribing if you like to see me watch, fix or race classic cars. See you next time. Bye. To Blotov Yelenethol or Blytov Selosov as its trade name.